With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, I welcome Mark back on with me. He was on very recently for Into the Fray, episode 471, High Strange Roswell, where we covered several haunted locations, places he lived, places he worked, and also the extremely strange and tragic occurrences when he lived in Roswell, New Mexico. I highly encourage everyone to go over and listen to that episode. It may not be what you think. I certainly was not expecting it, and I would love for anyone with any input on, especially that last portion of our chat, to get in touch. So, Mark, welcome back to the show.
Oh, Shannon, thank you for having me again. This is awesome.
No, it looks like we have a really interesting list once again this time that also includes some maybe Bigfoot stuff, but let's jump in to the very first thing on the list. Is it titled Seahund Restaurant in New London, Connecticut, right?
Yes, it's called the Seahund. So it was a German restaurant in New London, Connecticut. It was before that. It was a bar for about 100 years. So the gentleman that owned the place called me up one day and he goes, "Hey, I'm looking for a chef and I need a chef like you to work this restaurant." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "No, man, I got a job. I'm pretty cool." And he goes, "No, come on, let's talk." So I was like, whatever. So I go down to the place, and you know what? The minute I walked in, I saw this bar. This bar was just amazing. It was like, I don't know, 60 feet long, ornate wood, just something beautiful. I mean, like from the 1800s, hand-carved wood behind the bar. A knight in armor, actual knight in armor holding a sword. The place looked like a medieval castle. It was really cool on the inside. So I was like, so I was talking to the guy and I'm like, so, what is this going to be? And what's it going to be called? And he goes, Seahund. I said, Seahund? What the heck is that? And he goes, it's German. This is going to be a German restaurant, Seahound, or a sea dog. And I'm like, oh. I said, listen, man, I never cooked Middle European cuisine professionally before, or Eastern European cuisine professionally before. So I don't, he goes, no, you could do it. You're a really good chef, blah, blah. So I said, all right, whatever. But I fell in love with the bar. And the minute I walked in, it was like, wow, look at this place. It's so cool. But as I was talking to him, I started getting the creeps. I started getting the feelings that, all right, there's something here. And it's more than one. And I did take the job, okay? And it was really cool. Everything was going really good. I used a lot of my grandmother's recipes because she was from Austria, Poland, Austria area, which went over very, very well. But as things were moving along, things in the kitchen started happening where I would be the only one in the kitchen. And I'd hear somebody at the dishwashing area, dishwashing station, banging pots and pans around. And the dish machine would come on. Now, you can't turn a dish machine on without lowering the mechanism, the big doors on it and everything. But the doors were lowered and the machine was on. But there's nobody there. So I said, here we go. This place is going to start. And boy, did it. Me and the guys, one night after the kitchen closed, we were all in the bar. And we were having our shift drink. So everyone had a beer in their hands. And the owner was there. And bartenders, a couple patrons at the end of the bar, closing time. And we're all standing around just talking about the day, what happened, and what's going on. And all of a sudden, one of my guys, my line cook, drops his beer, and he's just like white as a ghost. And I'm like, what's the matter? And he goes, somebody just grabbed me by the back of my neck. And I said, there's no one behind you. He goes, I know, chef, but somebody just grabbed me. It was a cold hand in the back of my neck. And I was like, okay. I said, well, man, you're just feeling weird, whatever. So the guys left. It's just me and the bartender and the owner in the bar. And I was cleaning up and we heard coughing coming from the men's room. Like almost choking, coughing, like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what the heck is that? So he looks at me, the owner looks at me, and he goes, is somebody here? And I'm like, I thought it was just us three. So he opens the door to the men's room, and he's like, excuse me, are you okay? Are you okay? And the coughing stopped. But he walked in there. Now, there was only one little stall and a sink in this bathroom. It was tiny. There was nobody. There was nobody in there. And it's clear as day, we heard someone choking from behind the door. All right. So that's when all the strangeness started happening. Again, me and the owner and the bartender were at the bar one night, another closing shift. And we were talking. And as we were talking, a glass that was sitting on the bar that had the little swirlers in it for your drinks literally slid off the bar into the center of behind the bar where there nothing is between the bottles and the bar itself where people walk. In midair, just slid sideways, stood there 3 feet off the ground, and then just fell and broke everywhere. All three of us saw it, right? It was so creepy. So again, the owner's like, oh man, he says, Mark, you're bringing ghosts with you. I said, yeah, well, I think they've been here. They've been here. So again, another time, bar closing, bartender's in there. I'm in the restaurant, kitchen all set. I walk out to the bar area, and I said to what was her name? Well, anyhow, the bartender, and I says, okay, so there's nobody here, so let's just close up. And she goes, yeah, no one's walked in for at least a half an hour. I said, okay, cool, let's close the bar. So the front door, when you walked into the restaurant, it was a foyer. Now you would walk straight in, and on your left-hand side was French glass doors to go into the bar area. On your right-hand side were French glass doors to go into one of the other two dining rooms, okay? Now, if you walked into the dining room, if you're taking a right and you walked into the dining room, there was a small dining room there, and then a little hallway, and then a larger dining room. And you could walk through that dining room and into the side of the kitchen, and all the way down the kitchen, and all the way back out to the bar. So you can go a huge circle. So I walked through the French doors. I closed the doors to the bar, from the French doors to the bar. I locked the front door, and then I walked through the other French doors to go to the restaurant area and close them as well. As I walked into the first dining room, there was nobody there, obviously. The second dining room, there was a lady. And she was in a green gray sweater, looking out the window, sitting at a table in the corner. And I was like, oh my God, there's somebody here. So I went back through the kitchen area, walked all the way through into the bar. And I said, Kim, I thought you said there's nobody here. She goes, there is nobody, there's just no one here, it's just me and you. I said, there's a lady sitting in the dining room right now. She goes, there's no possible way, there's no one there. So we both went through the dining room, and she was gone. She was an older lady. She had curly gray hair. She had a green-gray sweater on. I could see it vividly till this day. So Kim goes home. I had to go upstairs and do some stuff in the office. Now those doors, the front door is locked. The two sets of French doors are closed. I go up into the office, which was creepy itself, and I'm doing some work. I come back downstairs, and I look, and the French doors are open from the bar to the front door. And I'm like, what the heck? There's nobody here. The place is locked up. So I went back over, I checked the front door. Front door is locked. But these doors are wide open and the pegs are down, like somebody wanted them open. So I closed the doors back up again. And I said, this is kind of a funny part. I had to go to the bathroom. So instead of the bathroom in the bar where the guy was coughing, because I avoided that like a plague, I didn't want to go in there. It was a creepy bathroom. I stayed out of it. So there was a bathroom in the other dining room where that lady was. And this bathroom was very, very small. It was just enough for a toilet and a sink, and that was it. And literally, you couldn't reach out side to side with your hands, without hitting the wall and door. So I'm in the bathroom, and I'm going, and all of a sudden, the doorknob is turning on the bathroom, and the door swung in. So it didn't swing out to the restaurant, swung into the bathroom. Now here I am standing there, and the doorknob is like turning. Now I'm freaking out. I put my foot up on the door. Well, I kind of Went all over the floor and the wall and everything. But the door was trying to open. And I was so scared I didn't want to open the door and get out of there, but I had to. So it was like, why? Who was trying to come in here? I opened the door and there's nobody, absolutely nobody in the restaurant. That was so creepy. And my guys, some of them, they got a kick out of it because some of them were like, oh, the ghost following you, the ghost following you, ghost following you. So what they would do, they would take that suit of armor with the sword. I have pictures of it. They would like hide it. So if I left early, they would like put the suit of armor in my office. So I would open the door and this big knight would be standing there with his sword.
Oh my God.
So they scared the hell out. It scared the hell out of me once, right? And then I'm like, you guys don't do that again, blah, blah, blah. So of course, they never put it back in the office, but they put it in the walk-in one day with a coat on. And I walked into that walk-in and I literally almost had a heart attack. This giant suit of armor with this guy holding a sword and he's got a coat on. It was right. So the guys are just messing with me. But the place we did a little history on the place, and we found that the owner, one of the owners back in the 1920s, I believe, hung himself in the hallway. And the newer owner, the guy that I worked for, one day said to me, Mark, I was coming into work one day and I saw someone's looking out the stairwell window. And I said, that's impossible. The stairwell window, to look out, you'd have to be 12 feet tall to look out that window. And he swore up and down. He says, Mark, there was a man in that window staring at me. I said, there's no possible way. He goes, I know, but I saw him. And this is the hallway where this gentleman had hung himself. So this place was around, actually the building was around when George Washington was around, because there was a mansion right next door, and it's now the Historical Society. He spent the night in the mansion there, and I believe he ate at this restaurant. It was an inn when they were burning New London. And who was it? Benedict Arnold started the fire in New London and tried to rouse General Washington, which is it's kind of cool. Anyhow,
that is so cool. The history out there is amazing.
It's amazing. It's just so literally 2 miles, not even 2 miles. I can't even say 2 miles. It's about a mile away from this restaurant is another restaurant. Well, it's an inn. It was built in the late 1800s by a steel magnate who made his money in steel in New York City, building, selling steel to the building industry in New York City for all the skyscrapers in the 1800s. Well, his fortune was so great. He had built this mansion in New London right on the water side and looking out over the Long Island Sound to a lighthouse. You could see the lighthouse. It was called Ledge Light. It's still there, which is haunted. And I think the TAPS crew was out there investigating that place. But now you can't go out there anymore. You just kind of like blocked off. So anyhow, this place is called the Lighthouse Inn. He lived there up until he had died in the 1918 or something like that. His wife took on the house and eventually had to make ends meet because most of the fortune was gone. And I don't know why. I mean, you can look in the history books, it tells you the whole story. So she turned it into an inn. Okay, this place is absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the historical, it's on the record of historical inns in America. Just a beautiful, beautiful place. And the focal point of this place is this giant spiral staircase, which is just absolutely stunning. The spiral staircase in this building was built by the same man who, after building this staircase, this is where he honed his skills to build the staircase in the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
The same staircase, just like triple the size. So if you knew the history and you look at this beautiful staircase, you go, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. And then you think about it and then you read the history books and you're going, holy cow, this is where this guy honed his skills to go and put that stairwell in the Titanic.
You know what, Mark? Now that you say that, I looked up the Lighthouse Inn, and first of all, the place is absolutely massive. I would say, I mean, you call it a mansion, but that's like a super XL mansion. It's so beautiful. Yes. But now that I saw the staircase, and now that you say that out loud, I can see that. I can see the resemblance there.
Absolutely. So anyhow, this place had, it was like the hot spot to go in the 1930s, late 20s and 1930s. A lot of stars stayed there. The Three Stooges stayed there. The Marx Brothers stayed there. They had gala parties, just craziness. But there was tunnels all over the place in this mansion. And these tunnels, some of them led out to the ocean because Prohibition. The boats would come into Long Island Sound. People would go down the tunnels, meet the boats on the beaches, bring in the booze, and bring it back to the inn. Okay, so there was all kinds of debauchery going on, let's say, in this place. But there was a lot of deaths in there that were not really, they weren't classified as murders, but they were classified as untimely deaths. So a bride in the 1930s, I believe it was she was getting married, and she was coming down that stairwell, down that staircase, tripped over her gown, and of course, down the spiral staircase, broke her neck at the bottom of the stairs and died. She's still there. She walks that stairwell. She walks the hallways. Before I worked there, I had a party maybe 20 years prior, and I hosted it at the Lighthouse Inn. And me being the host, I got a free room. But they didn't tell me. They gave me the room that this artist hung himself in, you know? So at night, I'm like, who keeps walking up to the door? My room was all the way down a hallway. There were no other rooms around it. The hallway was about a good 15 feet long. And I was the only room at the end of that hallway. And I was on the second floor. So there was no traffic, no in traffic going past my door. You had to, if you wanted to come to that room, there was a purpose to be there. And all night long, you'd hear footsteps come up to the door and then walk away from the door. Come up to the door, walk away from the door. Okay. In the bar room has wooden plank floors. I mean, it's an old place. It's beautiful. All right. But when we were refurbishing it, as I was going to be the chef there for the reopening, I would walk into the bar area from behind the bar, and through where the patrons sit, there was footsteps following me. All right, so I would walk behind the bar from one end to the other, and footsteps on the other side of the bar. There was nobody there, but the footsteps were. And you could literally hear the shuffle of the feet and someone follow me through the bar area. Happened quite a bit, and it was very, very cold in there. No matter how we tried to heat it, it was cold. There was always a cold spot somewhere in that bar. You'd walk through it and just get the chills. All right. When we were putting in the beer lines, the guy that was installing the beer lines came in, and it was just me and him in the building. And it was about 5 o'clock, probably right around this time, November or so. So it was already dark. So he's there working, and he goes, "This is a beautiful place." And yeah, I'm talking to him about it. And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "It's creepy down in the basement with all those tunnels." He goes, "I could have swore I heard people down there talking." I said, "You probably did." And he goes, "I thought we were the only ones here." I said, "Well, we are, but there's a lot, you'll hear voices, disembodied voices all the time in here." And he goes, "Oh, that's crazy." He goes, "I don't believe in any of that stuff." I said, "Oh, this place is haunted, man, I'm telling you." And he goes, "No." He goes, "It's everyone's imagination." He goes, "I don't believe in that stuff at all." Well, we were walking past the main dining room, going to the bar because he wanted to show me what he did. As we walked past the dining room, it sounded like someone took a yardstick and slapped it on one of the tables. It was so loud. He jumped out of his skin, and he just looked at me. And I said, "I told you, she's trying to get your attention. She is telling you that this is haunted." Right? This guy was white as a ghost. He did not want to step foot any further in that place. He goes, "Dude, you know what I did? I'm done with my work. I am not going back there." I said, "Well, okay." So she would hide our tools too. There was more than one. Downstairs in the tunnels, you would hear men's voices, which made sense because those guys were the guys who were probably going out through the tunnels, getting the booze and bringing it back. But you would always hear men's voices downstairs in the basement area. And then upstairs, there was always a female presence who would smell like a rose perfume or a floral perfume. She would hide our tools. Our tools are missing. My spatulas are missing or whatever. And they'd be at the other end of the rest of the building. Now, you saw how big this building is. There was no reason for my stuff from my kitchen to be anywhere else but in the kitchen. But she would hide stuff everywhere. Like I said, the voices were crazy downstairs. The rooms upstairs were just gorgeous, period rooms with the big canopy beds and stuff. But there was rooms in there. You would walk into the room and it was like someone did not want you in that room. You could just feel the coldness. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's time to go. Behind you, you'd leave the room as you're going down the hall and you would hear like a door creak from where you just came. There, there was nobody there. So a week after we opened the place, now this had burnt down once. A week after we opened this beautiful inn and they put millions of dollars into it, it burns down. They said it was one of the construction guys putting a sign up, but I don't think that was it. It was in the main dining area. We were open just a week and the place caught fire and they had to close it down for another year or so for restoration. But unfortunately, beautiful place, creepy as hell. A lot of people go there because there's ghosts. They know it. It's almost like the Captain Daniel Packer Inn, where people actually try to frequent the place because they want to feel something or hear something or see something. But yeah, those are the two New London craziness over there.
And how cool is it that they are that close to each other, these two buildings?
They're literally, if I don't even think they're a mile. I don't even think they're a mile apart, really. And actually, the front window of the Seahund looks out over New London Sound, and to the left is the Lighthouse and the Lighthouse Inn. You could kind of see it on a good day when there's no traffic and no craziness going on in the ocean. But yeah, you could almost see the Lighthouse Inn from the Seahund.
Now, the Seahund looks like it's closed, but the Lighthouse Inn is still there and open, right?
Right. The Lighthouse Inn is open again. The contractor that was there when I was there is still there. He's a fixture there. He's not going anywhere. He was the one that started, telling me, oh, this place is haunted. And I'm like, I already know that. You don't have to tell me. I already know that. I've been here before. I know what this is all about. Yeah, but the cops used to go there at night because they'd see lights on in the rooms. And this is when the place was closed at first. And the cops would have to go in.
Wow.
The doors are all boarded up. And they'd go break into the front door and get up into the rooms. There's nobody there, but they saw lights all the time. You'd see lights on in the room or lights moving from one room to another, but not a flashlight. And even the cops said that it was too dim to be a flashlight. And this has happened numerous times. Isn't that nuts?
I love hearing about places like that. I really, really do.
Yeah. Well, I come to Connecticut, and this place is full of them. I swear, every town you go in Connecticut, you will have a ghost story about some building or some restaurant or something crazy going on. That's how it is. It's just so old, It's just craziness. So let me talk about what happened to me a week before I did your show the first time. Okay, so I did your show, it was like a Tuesday. So the week prior, I had a dinner for the Lions Club at my restaurant at the brewery. It was about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and I'm coming home. Now, as I'm driving on 95 North, it's a good 40-minute drive from the restaurant to my house. And it's all on the Highway 95, which is not a big deal. But 95 is known to be it's pretty damn dangerous. So as I'm driving into Westbrook, Connecticut, I see these headlights in front of me. And the car in front of me kind of like veers off to the right. He veered off to the right as he was going down an exit. And all of a sudden I see headlights. And I'm like, what is it? What's going on? Did this guy turn around or something? Well, no. All of a sudden the headlights come directly in front of me. I was almost killed by a one-way driver. Okay, so as the headlights were coming at me, I tried to go over to the passing lane. There was a tractor trailer behind me. He saw what was going on. He's blowing his horn and blinking his lights for me to move over in front of him. I did. The car passed both of us on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, and it was just bizarre, right? So you shake it up. I've never never, ever was I, witness to a wrong way driver on a highway. I'm doing 65, 70 miles an hour. And this guy was coming on the highway doing about 60. All right. Passes us both by. I was really shaken. I get home. I tell my wife, I says, oh my God. So this was a Monday night. And I'm like, wow, holy cow, I almost got killed. She says, did you call 911? I said, no, I didn't do. I said, I was too shaken. I'm driving. So, okay. So I get home and I tell her the story and she's like, oh my God, just take it easy, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The day's over with and, I go on my merry way. Well, I'm watching the news and this was on a Friday, that Friday before your show. The news comes on and there was a guy killed by a wrong way driver on 95. The same exit that I was at when this car entered the highway. Okay. So it's like, oh my God, holy cow. Did you see that? I told you that place is bad, blah, blah. So I'm watching the newscast and they said, if anyone has a story about a one-way driver, please let us know. So I got a hold of I think it was Channel 30. They let them know what happened to me the couple days, before. So the day I did your show, it was an hour after your show, the newscaster called me. We did a video thing about, what happened and how all this stuff happened to me. So, okay, fine and dandy. Now it's the Friday after your show. So 4 days later, and the news is on and I'm sitting here watching the news and the reporter says, well, the funeral for the man who was killed in that one-way driving accident on I-95 was, put to rest today. And they said his name. And they said the background. They said his name was Mark Anthony, and I don't want to say his last name, but my name is Mark Anthony Vaquito, and his last name rhymed with my last name. They said he had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. He was killed 2 days after that incident happened to me in the exact same spot. Is that creepy?
Oh, that gave me chills. That is...
Is that creepy? The guy's name, it was like, his name was Mark Anthony and blah, blah, blah. And mine is Mark Anthony Vaquito. And he was 46. I'm 64. Did someone make a mistake? Was that supposed to be me? I don't know. How crazy is that?
See, but that's similar, not exactly the same, but similar to what you covered on 471 with gravestones and all this stuff with the last names.
His name is Mark. Mark Lilienthal.
In the world? That is so strange and tragic, of course, but very. What are the odds of that?
Exactly. What are the odds? And just like the poor guy that was killed in Vietnam, what are the odds of my daughter 40 years later picking his name out of a hat to do a report on him?
Yeah.
Is that bizarre?
Only you, Mark. Only you could have these kinds of things go on.
All my friends say the same thing. It's only you, man. Like I was in my kitchen the other morning last week, and I opened the door to my kitchen because I have this giant trailer, and my freezer door is open. So I get mad, like, bah, 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 bah. I take a picture of it, and the guys come into work, and I'm like, listen, you guys, bah, 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 bah. You didn't shut the door, but freezer, bah, bah, bah. And I show him pictures, and one of the guys starts laughing at me. He goes, it's you and that damn ghost. So they blame the ghosts on me. It's like, oh, yeah. But anyhow, at the brewery, remember I said that the ghost was gone ever since the gentleman that worked for me was killed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, nope, he's back. He's definitely back.
Oh.
Yeah, I walked into the brewery just a couple days, maybe 2 weeks ago. It's like 6:30 in the morning, and I'm in the brewery, and I'm walking towards the back, and I could just hear something getting dragged. What the heck? Like, what the heck is that? So it's like, all right, took a couple more steps, and it was like something was dragging behind me. I look around, there's nobody there. I can hear voices now, and they're upstairs in the celebration room. Now, we have huge glass windows that go 2 stories high. So from the brewery, you can see the celebration room. And it's more of an observation thing. So if people are having their functions, they could look out over the brewery and see how the beer's made and all that cool stuff. but there was nobody there, and I could hear voices up there, right? So I took out my camera on my phone, and I literally videotaped me walking through the entire brewery, and you could kind of hear it, the dragging behind me. I stopped a few times really abruptly so I could catch it on the audio, kind of, but definitely it was, wow. It was definitely weird. And last week I'm in there again, and we have these big plastic vinyl strands that come down off the ground. When you open a cooler door, now these are industrial coolers, so the doors are 20 feet high. So there's a big curtain, plastic vinyl curtain, like strips, like at a car wash, that hold the cold air in. Now, there's no breeze in the brewery. And I'm in there by myself, and I'm watching these giant vinyl strips from the ceiling swinging back and forth like a giant fan is on them. There's nobody there. I mean, they don't move by themselves. There was no airflow. It was just crazy. All right, and I'm watching this stuff happen. So I was like, okay, all right, time to get out of here for a while. So I went up to the celebration room. As I'm going up to the celebration room, I hear furniture dragging, the chairs upstairs being dragged on the concrete floor. And I'm like, well, maybe somebody is here. So when I got up to the room, I opened the door and I get in there and there's absolutely nobody there. Okay. And I'm looking out over the brewery, and those vinyl strands, the vinyl, whatever the hell you want to call them, are not moving anymore. Like someone stopped them and that's it. They're not moving. Now these are heavy. If they're going to move, they're going to move, and it's going to keep, centrifugal force. It's going to keep moving for a while, not within, 45 seconds, it stops. Not the way they were violently moving, like just crazy. So, okay. So I let it go. Now the guys are starting to come in. Now it's around, 10 o'clock in the morning now. Guys are coming in. And my sous chef was up there and he was doing something. We were doing something for an event. So he was putting a charcuterie board together or something like that. And he comes down to the kitchen and he's looking at me all wide-eyed. And he goes, "Chef, I can't work up there by myself." I'm like, "What is going on?" He goes, "Dude," I'm doing the charcuterie board and those vinyl curtain things are moving like crazy. I said, "Oh my God, that just happened to me this morning." He goes, "Yeah, I'm not working up there." He goes, "What the hell are you doing? You're bringing too many ghosts in here." It's like, it's not me, dude. I mean, they follow me, but I'm not maliciously doing this stuff. Yeah, but it's back again, and we don't know why. I haven't seen him yet. I definitely think it's the same guy, the younger guy that I saw up in the men's room area with the hat on. I definitely think it's him. I have that feeling that it's him. It's his feeling. I felt the same way when I saw him in the bathroom and stuff like that. So it's not like a different feeling. So it's not a different entity. It's the same guy. Yeah, whatever. We'll see what happens there.
He's back. Mark, I do wonder, because you are so sensitive and they are obviously quite attracted to you, they find you of interest. And I'm not saying that this is a good idea or a bad idea or that you would even want this, because you've seen and experienced and still are plenty of things. But I do wonder if you would be like, "Hey, I wouldn't mind seeing you. What do you look like?" I don't know if you want to do that, though.
I've done that. I've definitely done that. Yeah. I've tried that. I'm like, "Hey, man, listen, you want to talk? You want to, and I try to converse with them. I'll get a noise or something, kind of like something that would fall in the background or something like that, or you'll hear a bang or a kick or a shuffle. I'll get that. But voices, no, I don't know. I don't know. I know they're there. It's just so bizarre because to me, it's an annoyance. It's like, wow, why me?
Well, especially when coworkers don't want to work. They're just too afraid to do it. I mean, who could blame them? But here's the thing. Do you really want to find out what the dragging noise is? My mind goes immediately to just nothing good.
Yeah, that's where my mind is going as well. Now, this place, before it was a brewery, it was I think it was a steel mill. I was looking at we have a picture from the 1800s on the wall, this huge picture, mural on the wall of what the building used to look like and the buildings surrounding it. And it was definitely a steel mill with 2 floors. And, steel mills are dangerous today, even with OSHA. I can imagine how dangerous they were to work in back in the day, 100 years ago, and how many people died in reckless deaths or irresponsible deaths or something like that. I know, child labor, absolutely back then. So, I don't think it's a kid. I know it's a guy in his mid-20s, one of them. I know for a fact. I just know it. I just know it. So, I do try to communicate sometimes. I don't know if I really want to. I don't know if I want to get a response.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, you have enough activity as it is, and it's not like you need a hitchhiker then coming home with you, right? So.
Oh my God. Did I tell you the story about on 95 a few years back? I'm driving home from New Haven, and in the same area, like the Guilford area, it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night on a Sunday night, and there's no one on the highway. No one on the highway on a Sunday night. And my car shook. And it's like, what the heck was that? And then 3 bangs, like open hand slap to the back driver's side window. Bam, bam, bam. Scared the living daylights out of me. I'm looking in my rearview mirror. There's no one in the backseat. All right, nobody. I'm doing 75 miles an hour. All right, and then I feel the car shake again, and it stopped. It was like something, and I'm not saying this happened, like this is what happened, but it felt like something jumped on my car, slapped my window 3 times, and jumped off it. That's exactly what it felt like. I didn't see anything, but man, I heard it and felt it. I felt the vibration when that hand, whatever it was, hit that back window 3 times. Scared the living daylights out of me. I was too scared to turn around and look. I kept looking in the rearview mirror. I was like, what the hell was that?
Oh, that's a unique one, isn't it?
Who's trying to get my attention? Yeah, someone's trying to get my attention. Why? And it was like me and my wife were driving in this area in Griswold, Connecticut, right where I was showing her. Actually, my second wife. I was showing her where I lived, Michael Ross's house. And so we took a little drive out into the country area. And this is bizarre because this is not how my wife reacts to things. But as we were driving down this road, she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, stop, there's kids. Oh my God, stop, there's kids." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "Oh my God." And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I felt like there were kids. We were going to hit them." And I said, did you know how many kids? And she goes, "It was like 4 kids. And I'm like, okay. Back in the 1980s, high school kids on this road were killed. 4 high school kids were killed on this road, joyriding at night. I guess they went off the road, hit a tree. But right in that area where, as we were driving by, I don't know if I had transferred my energy to her because she's not sensitive like I am. But she was like, she lost her mind. She's looking at me going, oh my God, stop, there's kids." And I'm like, "There's no kids."
Wow, that's cool.
That was kind of, yeah, it was kind of weird. But yeah. Wow. Yeah, so I got these goosebumps right now because I'm thinking of all the weird stuff that happened to me. So we could move on to something that happened to me up in Candlewood Lake when I was 18 years old. Candlewood Lake is this huge, kind of like a reservoir up in northeastern Connecticut. Now, this is like 1978, 1979. We got our licenses back then. We were all, 17 years old, and we all got our licenses, me and the guys, and we go camping and stuff, right? So I got all my gear and they got their gear. We get in our 2 cars and we fly out to Candlewood Lake and, hang out on the lake and stuff like that. Have a good time. We're teenagers, So we were doing that one day, and it was this one section of the lake where it got really narrow, and there was a road that went alongside of it, and there were huge. It was like they put a road over the thinnest part of the lake to cross over, and they had little tunnels there where the lake went through the other side. Now, it was a little embankment and stuff like that, and we camped up in this clearing area off that road. And we had our tents set up in there and everything like that. And, we were out on the lake, and we come back, and our tents and everything we had was destroyed. Our tents were ripped down, ripped up. Our sleeping bags were torn up. Our coolers were thrown everywhere. Everything was just a mess. Like some crazy man went crazy nuts and just threw our stuff around and ripped it up and took off. Now, to get to that spot, they had to go on that road. And we were out on the lake. We didn't see anybody drive up there or walk up there or anything like that. Okay, so we blamed it. Now, this is back in the 70s now. We blamed it on drug-crazed hippies because, Woodstock happened in, 69. It was only like 8 years ago. And there was a lot of hippies. But so we, kind of blamed it because it stunk. And we kind of blamed that whole thing on hippies. I really did. And so my buddies would say to me, hey, let's go camp. I'm like, I ain't going up there again. They ruined my tent, they destroyed all my stuff. I ain't going back to that damn hippie place. Right? So was that, okay, cool. Fine and dandy. That was back in 1978. So I'm listening to a podcast, and I'm listening to this guy tell a story about how he once lived in Connecticut, and he used to go out to Candlewood Lake back in the late 70s, and he had a Bigfoot encounter, where the Bigfoot literally trashed this place. And he told this whole story. And I'm listening to the story and I'm like, wow, Candlewood Lake. We used to go camping up there. And as he was describing where he was, it was the exact same place that we were camping in back in the day that got destroyed. And we kind of blamed it on hippies, but it might have been a Bigfoot encounter. I mean, we didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything, but it might have been a Bigfoot thing because I put two and two together, and I text the host of the show and I told him what was going on. I told him the story about it, and he's like, oh my God. And he got back to the guy, and the guy, got back with me, and we had conversed, and it was like, holy shit, it's the same place, exact same place, with probably the same year.
Now, you're a chef, so this might be an even better question for you to answer than maybe the rest of us. If you could mix a few things and try to replicate that smell, what do you think it was a mix of?
Oh, well, okay. It was dried. It was like something dried, something musty, dried flour, dried grass, dried something that was dry and musty smelling. Exact. That's what that smell was. Dry, musty, old flowers. If you get flowers and you get them really moist and you put them out in the sun, and the top will get dry and the bottom will get dry, and in the center is the moist leaves still. That smell, not a good smell at all. It was a musty, kind of flowery, grassy smell. Hay, dry hay, but it's wet. That's exactly what that smell was like.
It's almost like sickly sweet, but still musty,
yes.
Gross.
Well, see, that's what it was. Why we called them, there it is. You nailed it right on the head. When I called them the hippies, I called them barefoot, patchouli-wearing hippies. You could still smell them. That's what I was saying. Those damn patchouli-wearing hippies. and you know what? Bang, that was it. You hit the nail right on the head right there. It was this kind of a sweet, musty, yes, organic smell. Yeah.
Well, definitely could have been. I mean, when you say ripped up, how damaged was everything? And was
metal poles back then? There were metal poles on the tent. They were snapped. They were bent in half. It was determined to destroy everything there, and it was just so much damage. There was nothing that we could salvage. Our sleeping bags were torn. The food that we had was just smashed up, thrown everywhere. It was just absolute destruction. Like, who would do this? Who would do this to her? I mean, just campers, people are camping. Who would do this stuff to you? And I was pissed. I mean, I never went back there. And then after, 40 years go by, and I hear this story, the same damn place, and the same time, around the same time frame. It's crazy.
Well, and if it was a bear, it would have consumed some of the food.
Absolutely. And you know what? In Candlewood Lake, yeah, you could probably see a little black bear there, but I don't think so. It was not a bear. No freaking way. It was torn up. We would have heard it. We were on the lake. We had this little inflatable raft that we were fishing on. We didn't see anyone go up that road. We were only, a quarter mile away from that road. You could see it clear as day. There was no one that went up there. It was just so bizarre. It was so bizarre.
Yeah, that's a strange one. If anybody else knows of, more Bigfoot activity, or if you have your own, by God, get in touch with me and I'll pass that along to Mark. And of course, you come on and share the experience.
Well, here's I got one. The listeners. This happened to me up in Dover, Foxcroft, Maine, and this was kind of like a Bigfoot thing. So my wife, back in 2021, yeah, during a pandemic, yeah, she says to me, "Guess what? For our anniversary, I got us a wilderness cabin up in Maine." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I rented a wilderness cabin up in Maine." Now, if you know my wife. She went to prep schools and never ate a chicken wing in her life. And here she is renting a wilderness. She didn't even know what a wilderness cabin was, believe me. So I said, does it have electricity? And she goes, what? And I said, does it have a toilet? And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, you said you went to rented a wilderness cabin. Well, does it have electricity and stuff? And she goes, oh, I don't know. I'm like, oh my God. So I said, so I had to explain to her what it was. It was like a hunting cabin, and people go there and hunt moose or whatever. So we went to this place, which was absolutely gorgeous. It was a good 9-hour ride from where we are, Dover, Foxcroft, Maine. So it's right near Moosehead Lake. Well, it's not near, but Moosehead Lake is very close to it. It's in the Allagash, where it's just total wilderness out there. So it was off the main road. It was about a 2 or 3 mile drive on a dirt road to get to this cabin. And it's in the middle of God's country. And we got out there and it was just gorgeous. I think I sent you a picture of the cabin. Really, really cool. But yeah, I think I did. So we get to the cabin and the lady that owned the cabins there, she said she would meet us. Okay, cool. So we get there and there's like nobody really there. I mean, the cabin's empty and stuff, but we had a key. She told us where the key was. And so we're unloading our stuff and we hear like this coming through the woods. And here comes this lady on a little side-by-side. She's got a rifle across her lap, all right? And she rides up to us. Hi, how you doing? And she goes, you guys need anything? Did you find everything okay? And she was very friendly, very, very nice. And she explained to us, things to do, things not to do. Don't leave food out. There's bears here. Bears will eat the food, and you don't want them hanging around the cabin. The moose will come through, but they're nearsighted. Don't spook them. Stay away from them. Okay, cool. So she says, if you need me, you have to go down to the road and text me from there. There's no service, whatever. Okay, we're fine. And she gets on her 4x4 and she starts driving away. And she looks at my car. Now, my car, of course, I've got a Bigfoot sticker on my car. I've got aliens and stuff because that's who I am. And she stops the 4x4. And she gets off it and she walks up to me and she says, are you looking for something? And I said, what? And she says, are you guys here looking for something? And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, your bumper sticker. And I'm like, oh. I said, no. It's our anniversary. My wife doesn't believe in any of that stuff. I says, that's just me. I said, oh, I'm not here looking for anything. She says, all right, so rules have changed now. And I'm like, what? She says, rules have changed. She said, listen, I don't want any tree knocks, and I don't want any whooping or any of that crap because I don't need that son of a bitch here again. And I'm like, what? And she gets on her damn 4x4 and just drives away. And my wife's looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you? I'm like, so anyhow, okay. This lady's like freaking out because I have a Bigfoot sticker on my car and she thinks I'm up looking for him, which I wasn't. So that was that night. It was that night. Yeah. No, it was the next night. We had a dinner on the campfire. It was really cool. And then, yes, there was electricity. And yes, there was a toilet, which I was happy. And my wife falls asleep on the couch in the cabin, right? So, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, all right, so I'm going to go outside and just check it out because it was a summer night. It was really nice. I opened the door to the cabin and it was, outside, just outside in the middle of the night. And you could, you'd see about 30 feet. And it was really nice. So I go back in. And I'm like, maybe I want to sit outside for a while. Let her sleep. I'll leave her alone. I opened the door to the cabin the second time. And it was like, I was in the middle of nothing. I was in total black. I couldn't see a foot in front of me. I couldn't see the moon that was just there maybe 2 minutes ago in the sky. I couldn't see any stars. I couldn't see the lake. I couldn't see the steps to the freaking front porch. Complete black. Complete black. All right? And this crazy feeling came over me like, this is not supposed to be this way. Something is wrong. I was so freaking scared. I went back into the cabin, slammed the door, and I was up most of the night, and I didn't want to look back out. I didn't want to look out a window. I didn't want to look back out the door because there was nothing there. There was nothing there. So the morning came, and I said to my wife, we got to go. We got to go. We got to leave. And I really didn't explain to her why. She was really mad. We had an argument the entire way home. 9 hours, 9-hour argument because I left. But I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know how that even could be. But there was nothing there. It was like I was in a total void. A void. There was nothing. Nothing. Couldn't see anything. Couldn't smell anything. There was nothing there. That's bizarre.
Okay, so a few questions about that, Mark. Yep. When you stepped out, I know that it was pitch black, and you just moments before you even pointed out, hey, there was moonlight. I could see a lot of things. Do you recall if not only was it completely beyond dark, but that it was also silent? Could you hear things?
Yes. No, there was nothing. It was a void. It was a void, like a vacuum. There was no sound. There was no light. It was black. There was nothing. It literally crazy, scared the living crap out of me. I couldn't even believe I was experienced something like this. I can't even explain what that was. I don't even know. Was it paranormal? I don't even know. It was crazy.
How early did you cut the trip?
2 days early.
And did the owner contact you and go, where'd you guys go?
She wanted to know why we left. And my wife explained to her that she said, my husband is a city slicker and he couldn't handle the woods. Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you something. It's the exact opposite. But she was so pissed at me. I mean, literally, 9-hour drive argument the whole way home. I swear to God.
Because you guys had only spent, is it the one night or was it that second night that it was?
One night. It was the second night. Yeah. It was.
You got tossed right under that bus, didn't you? So, but
freaking pay you back for the goddamn thing.
But Mark, you didn't try to explain to her why you left, right?
Because she says I'm nuts. Yeah. Oh, you believe in Bigfoot? Yes, I do. Yep.
Right, I get it. You're like, listen, I have my reasons, and then you were saying that for 9 hours. I guess I have my reasons.
I had my reasons. Exactly. I said I couldn't. I just didn't want to stay there anymore. It creeped me out. She goes, "You see any ghosts?" I said, "No, there wasn't any ghosts. It just creeped me out." All right. So yeah, like this whole UFO disclosure thing that's going on right now. You know, I've been saying that for years. I've been telling everybody, and I get laughed at constantly because I was the kid in high school that believed in UFOs and Bigfoot, and they're all like, "Oh, here he comes with the UFOs and aliens." Yeah, well, guess what, pal? Look who's laughing now. You know, and I can't wait for the other one to happen.
So what about, I'm looking at the list here, what about Camp Hero in Montauk?
Oh, Camp Hero. What a cool place that was. So this was summer, I forgot what it was, a few years back. I had a friend of mine, an acquaintance, a chef, the guy that did the video with me in Daniel Packer and the Chef Plum. Uh-huh. That guy. All right. So he calls me up and he's like, dude, my sister-in-law needs a chef for the summer. And I said, oh my God, what are you talking about? I got a job. He goes, no, give her a call, dude, give her a call. I said, where is she? He goes, Montauk. Montauk? I'm like, are you friggin' nuts? He goes, no, just call her. All right, so I call her. Her name was Michelle. Very nice lady. She says, listen, Mark, I'm going to pay for your... Now, to get to Montauk from Connecticut, there is no direct route. It is on the tip of Long Island. They call it the end of the earth. And you can see it from New London. There you go. From the Lighthouse Inn, you can literally see the Montauk lighthouses out there. It's a struggle, but you can see them. They're literally, I don't know, 20 miles out. So you can see them. And so I was talking to her, and she says to me, listen, I know where you live. She goes, you're 28 miles from me. I said, but that's as the crow flies. She goes, well, I get it. She goes, I'll pay for your boat rides out. It's 3 boat rides, 3 ferry rides. And then I'll give you an RV to stay in, brand new, and I'll give you $1,000 a day. So I was like, what? All right. What? All right. So I and I was only working there 3 days a week, so it was great. So she paid for the boat rides out and the RV and stuff like that. And now I'm down there, and literally I'm not touching my knives or anything like that, because I did basically nothing but hang out with Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen and do shots. And I did 2 episodes of Real Housewives of Miami there. So anyhow, I had some free time. And Plum had told me, Chef Plum had told me, he goes, oh, you got to go check out Camp Hero, man. It's right up your alley. That's where they did all the mind control experiments, and Stranger Things was based on that whole base. So I'm like, get out of here. So I had free time. So I took off and I went to Camp Hero, which is literally just a 10-minute drive from Montauk. So I went out there, and the place is so cool. You could walk up to the bunkers that are there, and the houses that are there, and where the people stayed. You couldn't, everything, the radio tower and the radar tower and stuff like that, all the important things are all fenced off where you can't get to them, but where they did all the experiments and stuff. So, it's like a wilderness camp. It's really cool. So I'm doing some walking, and I'm walking through there, and there's a bunch of paths that go down to the beach, and there's some that go to, other areas. And here it is, like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm definitely not, it's not very crowded. It was like a weekday. It was like a Wednesday at 9 in the morning. So there's not many people out there. I'm going through these trails. And as I'm walking through the trails, now the growth, the trees and the bushes and stuff are literally 10 feet. And this trail cuts through all this stuff where you're in this enchanted forest almost, where on both sides of you is bright green because it's all foliage, and just one path where you can't even see 20 feet in front of you because the path curls. But as I'm going, I'm by myself. As I'm walking, I hear walking on the sides of me in the bushes. Okay. So I'm like, what the heck? And I'd stop, and I listen. I don't hear anything. I'd start walking again. And then again, I'd hear walking, not anything like a Bigfoot type thing, but walking like, I don't know, like a little kid would walk. Just kind of like how a kid would sneak up, like a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid would try to, sneak up on you and just to be a little kid. And I kept hearing that. And as I'm going, I'm like, I get down to this crossroads where there was some mud and stuff like that. And there was some deer tracks out there. So I said, oh, it's got to be a deer. That's what that is. So I'm getting all creeped out for nothing. It's just a deer. And I'm walking the path, and I said, you know what? I got to turn around and go back, because now I was getting scared. Even though I thought I saw the deer tracks in the mud and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, it's cool, it's a deer. Even though I saw that, and I kind of like said to myself, yeah, we're good. I still got the creeps and said, I got to turn around. I got to, it's at least a 15-minute walk to where I was going, to the clearing anyhow. And I'm walking, and whatever the hell it was, I kept hearing, it was flanking me, and I could hear it. But there was no trees moving, no bushes moving, nothing like that. But I could hear it walking. It wasn't big footsteps either. It was small footsteps. And it couldn't have been a deer. All right? And I got to come around this corner, and the path, I could see the path. The sun was shining. It was just a beautiful day. Blue sky, what you could see of it over the trees and foliage and stuff like that. I could see about a good 35 feet. The path was straight, so I could see. As I turned that corner, the shadow of something darted across the path, and it was a small shadow. It wasn't like a man. It was like a kid's shadow, a shadow of a kid, because it was like 3 feet high. And it just darted across the path in front of me as I was leaving there. And I was like, holy cow. I ran. I literally ran. I was so freaking scared because I'm by myself, chef found dead in the woods, I freaking ran back to where I was at Camp Hero, where my car was. And I was looking around my car, making sure there was no one, camping in my car and stuff like that. I got in there, I left. But that was definitely strange. Almost like the melon heads in central Connecticut. Yeah, where I lived in Meriden, there was this, when I was a kid, there was this one dude who had this giant head. It looked like he had a watermelon stuck on the back of his head. All right. And he had these big, thick lips, and he always drooled, and he wore this white, starchy white shirt with black pants and black shoes. And he was probably had to be in his 30s or so, 40s. Didn't have a tie, but he looked like he was ready to put a tie on, And I saw this guy. He would walk around town all the time. When we were kids, we'd call him Ed the Big Head because we were kids and we were ignorant little jerks. And so here comes Ed the Big Head. Whoa! And this guy would like drool and yell at us and stuff. And so, we thought it was, just whatever, some weird mutated guy. And then we heard the story about the melon heads that happened in I think it was the 40s. In 2 towns over from us. And I kind of thought if he was like a remnant, one of the melon heads that was in the hospital, was a kids orphanage or something like that. And there was a doctor who was experimenting on the children, and he would inject them with water or something in their heads. And they got these huge melon heads. Well, he treated them bad and they revolted, and I think they all killed him, and they burnt the place down. And it says that the kids escaped and they were still around. And this is back in the mid 60s. So that only happened like 30 years prior. So I definitely think that guy was a melon head, a real melon head grown up. It's just weird.
I mean, about Camp Hero, there are reports of it being haunted, of course. Sometimes people do say it is having to do with if kids, like the kids' spirits left. Others say it's non-human entities that haunt the place.
Well, the feelings that I got there, it was confusing. Just like I said, it was confusing. I couldn't figure it out if it was a kid, if it was a deer, if it was an animal. But the feelings I got were not my normal feelings that I would get if I would feel the presence of a spirit, a ghost. It's not the same thing. It was not the same thing. That's why it scared me so much, because I couldn't figure out what that feeling was. And they said, a lot of mind control stuff was going on there too. So, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there was something trying to convince me. I don't know.
Next up, would you mind covering you call it the Week of UFOs in 1978?
1978 in Meriden, Connecticut. It was in the midsummer, and there was a rash of reportings of UFOs in the Meriden area. And this is why, this is how the kid back in high school, I graduated in 1978. So, in high school, I was like the UFO kid. And everyone laughed at me because I, Loch Ness Monster and UFO and stuff like Bigfoot. And, I was that kid. And so it was crazy. There were sightings everywhere. We were down at this field that we used to hang out with all our friends at. It was an old track, it was the old Meriden Fairgrounds. So it was huge, big area, flat land. And to the north of it was this huge rock quarry. And down on the flat part where the racetrack was, actually, they put a pump house in for, drainage and stuff like that. There's a house that there was nothing in the house but this giant pumps. So that's where we used to hang out and party and stuff at the pump house, So we were down there one night and we were all hanging out. We had our cars there. So it was a bunch of teenagers hanging out in their cars and stuff. And there was like this flash of light over in the north towards the quarry, towards the rock quarry. And we're all looked like, what the heck was that? Now, in the quarry, above the rocks in the quarry, which was probably, 70 feet high, these rock walls. Above the walls, you could see, now this was probably half a mile away where we were. There was a silver, I didn't want to call it a flying saucer because it wasn't a flying saucer shape. It was like a silver cigar, a silver, like a silver rod in the sky. And this is at night. And we're looking at this silver rod in the sky. And all of a sudden, this red beam comes out at a 45-degree angle on the side of the rod. All right, at a 45-degree angle, like a red beam or a light. And at the bottom was another silver, like a globe, like a globe or an orb or something like that. And we're just literally fixated on it, going, "What the hell are we looking at?" Now, my mom lived off to the right. My house was off to the right, 2 or 3 streets away. So I'm freaking out. Now I'm like, literally, I want to get out of there, but I didn't want to show my friends that I was that scared. And I'm like, "Hey, I got a telescope at my house. I'm going to go get my telescope and we go check it out." I get in the car and I fly home, and I get to the house and my mother goes, "Oh my God, this house lit up. Mark, there was lights in the backyard that flew over the trees and lit this whole kitchen up." And I'm like, "Oh my God, we just saw something down in the quarry at the field." So I grabbed my telescope and I grabbed binoculars too. And by the time I got down there, that thing had gone. They said, "Oh, it just disappeared. It just disappeared," right? Like, I was kind of relieved because it's kind of scared me. But I said, "See, it's a UFO." And they all started laughing at me again, going, "Oh, you and your UFOs. It wasn't a UFO." I'm like, "Yes, it was a UFO. Believe me." And then the next day in the paper, there was this huge bunch of articles about all these sightings, UFO sightings at the airport, like all over town back in 1978. That was just crazy. You could look it up. It's in the history books. And that's what I witnessed. It was kind of crazy.
I mean, that's always cool when other people confirm and you're going, "See, I told you so."
I told you so, and that's it. This is where, the same area where the black dog of the Hanging Hills in Meriden are, where the black dog is supposed to be, if you sight him the first time, it brings happiness, the second time brings sadness, the third time brings death. And that story has been going on, oh Christ, since the mid 1800s. There's a park up in Meriden called Hubbard Park, where up the side of a mountain there is a castle. It's called Castle Craig, and it's like a giant castle at the top of a mountain. And that's where the dog is reportedly to be seen. I never saw the dog. I had a friend who had seen the dog who was killed in a car accident. It was just crazy.
How soon after?
Oh, about a month or so.
Oh.
A month or so after it happened, he was killed in a car accident. And the weird thing about it was, we were kids, and the weird thing about it was he had broken his arm, and I had broken my arm playing baseball, because we were on the same baseball team together. Must have been, what, I don't know, 10, 11 years old? Yeah. And so back then, you sign your casts. Everyone signs your cast, So I signed his cast. He signed my cast. Now, where he signed my cast was on my wrist area between my thumb and my forefinger. And he was killed in a car accident. 2 days later, I had to go back to the doctors because, me being a hellion, I destroyed my cast and they had to redo my cast. All right. So that was the day of his funeral. I had to miss his funeral because I had to go to the doctor's appointment to get my cast done. And when they buried him, it's the same time that the doctor put a bandage around me, and the only name on my cast that was covered was his. And it was on the day he was buried.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, did he describe, and I know this when you were younger, but did he describe, was this a big dog, a little dog? What,
It's a medium-sized black dog. He said, "I seen the dog," because we used to talk about it. "Oh, black dog." And, and he was on my baseball team. And he said to me, me and my brother seen the dog." And I'm like, "No, you didn't." He goes, I definitely seen the dog. He was on the path going up to the castle. We saw the dog, but I definitely saw him first. And I'm like, "Okay." And then it was like a week or so, or 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I was a kid, but he was killed right after that. It was just weird. And I remembered him saying that after I heard the news that he was killed in the car accident. And I'm like, "Oh, he saw the black dog. I wonder if that had anything to do with it." And my friend Jim's like, "No, come on, man. That's just a legend." And I'm like, "I don't know." I don't know. I don't know. That was weird. But he definitely claimed to have seen the dog.
Wow. Yeah, that one is so creepy because a lot of those are kind of this harbinger of doom. If you see them, it,
Yes.
it can
Yeah.
it's supposed to not be a great thing. So
It's not to, yeah. And I hung out up there a lot. We went to the castle like many times over the years, and I have never seen a dog. I don't think I want to, but I've never seen them. So I can't say that it's here nor there. Let's put it that way.
well, last but not least, you
Oh, I know what
mention
this
an
is.
encounter with your mom and shadow
Yeah,
people.
shadow people, absolutely. Okay. Wow, this is so bizarre because now my mom is passed already, which is unfortunate because it's my mom. But she was definitely a believer in everything that I believe in because her mother was my grandmother, and my grandmother was a fortune teller, and she taught me how to read cards and stuff like that. And she always told me that I had that sense where they're going to bother me all my life, and get used to it, and this and that. So my mom, if I told her a ghost story or said something that I saw, there was no doubt ever in her mind, and she would tell me stories that had happened to her. So one night, this is after my dad had passed away, she moved into an apartment by herself. And she didn't want to live with anybody because she was a stubborn Polak. She didn't want to live with anybody. So she's living by herself, and she gives me a call and she says, "Mark, you have to come here." She goes, "There's something, there's shadows in my house, and you've got to come here and see this." Because I'm not going crazy. I said, "Nah, you ain't going crazy, Ma. I'll come down and check it out." So, I went to her house. I think it was the next night or something like that. And we were in the kitchen. Well, she was in the living room. I was in the kitchen. And we were just talking, just normal talk. And she knew I was there because the phone call. She knew I was there because she had called me about the shadow people that she's seeing things. And we didn't even mention that. There was no mention of that. It was mainly a visit. I'm visiting my mom. She's in her freaking 90s. I got to be nice to her. So I'm in the kitchen area. She's in the living room, and we're just having our chit chat, talking and back and forth. Telling jokes and being how we acted together. And she goes, "Oh my God, he's back. He's back." And I looked up, and on the wall was a shadow of a man. And and it it walked. It didn't walk. It more of a glide. The shadow went across the living room wall, across the hallway. Now, when it passed the hallway where the doorway was, it wasn't a projection on a wall, but it was like it was there. Like it was there. Like it was like a hologram. It was there. And then it moved to the other wall. And when it hit the other wall, it was back as a shadow. And we were both just standing there. We watched the whole thing. It was just so bizarre. And she kept looking at me going, "It's a sign. It's a sign. It's a sign." And I said, "Mom, what kind of sign is it? Where do you get?" She said, she goes, "It's Uncle Stanley's going to die." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, Mom? Don't say stuff like that." She goes, "It's a sign. It's definitely a sign. This is the third time I've seen this. This is the third time." Now, it just went away. It went from one side of the wall past the hallway opening where it like kind of manifested as a gray smoke type thing. And then when it got to the other wall, and it didn't move very fast, when it got to the other side of the wall, it turned back into a shadow on the wall. It was just so weird. And then it just through the wall and gone, but not fast. I mean, long enough. We just stood there. We just stood there looking at it. Made no noise. It was a glide. You could see a shape of a man. It was definitely a man. And she kept insisting. She kept insisting it was a sign that Uncle Stanley's going to die. Uncle Stanley's going to die. Now, that was her older brother. He was the only one left of her family. Him and her were the two last surviving members of her family. And literally, like 3 days later, my cousin found my uncle dead on his bed, fell over and died. And my mom called me and she goes, "Stan died, Mark. I told you, Stan died. That was the ghost. That was the Reaper. He was telling us he was coming for Stanley. Stanley died.
Wow. Was he sick at the time?
No.
Oh my
it was
goodness.
like my cousin found him like he was sitting at the edge of his bed and kind of laid back. And that's how he found him. Not like it was a struggle, not like it was not a heart attack, no nothing. He just died. Okay. And he was in his 90s too, though. You know, he was an older man. You get it. I mean, you're going to die. But just he died like very peacefully, like he was sitting at the edge of his bed and just laid back. And that was it. And that's my mom was absolutely convinced that it was the angel of death coming and letting her know, because it was a projection of a man and letting her know that he was coming for Stanley. And she insisted that. And then 3 days later, it happened. It was just like, she knew it was going to happen. She insisted that this shadow was the Reaper or somebody. And he projected himself as a man, and that's who he was taking. And that's how that happened.
Your mom, had she ever done anything like that before? Had any premonitions like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, we would tell each other stories, and there were stories of her and my grandfather. I'll never forget. She was walking. She says she was about 8 years old, and she was with her father, my grandfather, and they lived on a street in Meriden called Veteran Street, which was kind of like the Bowery. It's kind of like where it was like the Polish section of town. There was an Italian section, a Polish section, all that stuff. And they were in the Polish section of town. And to get to their house from downtown, you would cut through a park. They would cut through this little park. And, there was trees and stuff like that. And she said they were coming home one night, and she was holding my grandfather's hand. And there was a man in the path leaning against a tree with his arm on the tree and his head leaning on his arm, like he was almost like he was sobbing. And she said they were walking up, as they were walking closer to the man, they could see him. They couldn't see his face, but he had his arm up on his head, like his hand was on his forehead and the other part of his hand was on the tree, kind of like leaning over. And she said, as they got closer to him, my grandfather said, "Sir, could you please move, because you're in the path, and my daughter, I don't want my daughter to, trip on you." And he didn't move, and he didn't say anything. And my grandfather asked him again, "Sir, could you move, please?" And my mother said she was a kid. She goes, I got mad, and I went to kick him. And she said, when I kicked him, my foot went right through his leg. It was like he was not there. There was nothing there. It was a ghost leaning against the tree. And my mother was like, I'll never forget it till this day. And my grandfather was like horrified because he wasn't the guy that believed in that stuff. It was my grandmother. But he was like horrified that there was this person that he thought was a person. And he asked him to move. The guy ignored him. My mom went to kick him, and her foot went right through him. And the guy just like disappeared. Boom, gone. Like, I've been in cemeteries before where I've seen people leaning over graves, and I kind of like look away and look back over there, and that person's gone. That happens quite a bit to me, where I see someone looking over somebody's grave, because I spent a lot of time in cemeteries as a kid. So like I said, I'd be alone in the cemetery, but not really. I was never really alone. There was a lot of other things out there. They never bothered me, but I could see them. It looks like they were like praying over someone's grave or visiting somebody or something like that. They were no bother. It's just they were just there. It was just energy. I see it all the time.
Well, just another example and proof that these things do run in families, right? So that was not a shock to hear that, oh no, Mom has had her own experiences. So, well, Mark, I really love hearing about all of your experiences and encounters and sightings. Let me backtrack that. Not all of them. On part one, you did share a really horrific thing that happened in Roswell, but I do so appreciate you taking all this time out on days off to chat with me.
That's nothing. I like doing this stuff. Hey, I like to share it with people. It's just, there's a lot of people you can't talk to about things like this. I mean, when I'm in a crowd of people, I don't go around talking about ghosts and stuff or UFOs or well, now, yeah, UFOs, that's going to come up every day. But, like Bigfoot and like Rougarou, I am so intrigued with Dogman. And let me congratulate you on your Texas Dogman Triangle. Oh my God. That is just, you did a great job on that. That was absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that.
Dogman is one of my absolute, I am so intrigued with Dogman. It's just crazy.
Well, Mark, thanks again. Go enjoy the rest of your day off. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Shannon. It's been great.